Imagine it's the 1840s. The United States is a young, ambitious country, and it has a powerful idea fueling its expansion, manifest destiny. This was the belief that Americans were divinely ordained to spread democracy and capitalism across the entire North American continent. To the south, Mexico was a relatively new republic itself, having won its independence from Spain just a couple of decades earlier. It was a vast nation, but it was struggling with internal political instability and a sparsely populated northern frontier. These two nations, with their competing visions and overlapping territories, were on a collision course. At the heart of the conflict was Texas. Originally a part of Mexico, Texas had been settled by a large number of American immigrants. These settlers, led by figures like Stephen F. Austin, brought their own culture, language, and, crucially, the institution of slavery, which Mexico had abolished. Tensions boiled over, and in 1836, Texas declared its independence, winning a swift and brutal war against Mexico. For the next 9 years, the Republic of Texas stood as its own nation. But most Texans were Americans at heart, and they desperately wanted to join the United States. Mexico, however, never officially recognized Texas's independence. To them, Texas was a rebellious province, and they warned the United States that annexing it would be an act of war. This is where things get really heated. In 1844, James K. Polk, a staunch believer in manifest destiny, was elected President of the United States on a platform of expansion. He didn't just want Texas, he had his eyes on the entire stretch of land to the Pacific Ocean, including California and the vast territory of New Mexico. In 1845, the United States officially annexed Texas, making it the 28th state. Mexico was furious. They immediately cut off diplomatic relations. But the conflict wasn't just about the annexation itself, it was also about the border. Texas claimed its southern border was the Rio Grande River. Mexico insisted it was the Nueces River, about 150 miles further north. That strip of land between the two rivers became a flashpoint. President Polk saw an opportunity. He sent a diplomat, John Slidell, to Mexico City with a secret offer. The U.S. would pay off Mexico's debt to American citizens in exchange for Mexico recognizing the Rio Grande border. Polk also authorized Slidell to offer up to $25 million for the territories of New Mexico and California. But the Mexican government, feeling insulted and under public pressure not to give up any more territory, refused to even meet with him. With diplomacy failing, Polk decided to force the issue. He ordered General Zachary Taylor and his troops to march south from the Nueces River and set up a fort on the northern bank of the Rio Grande, right in the heart of the disputed territory. From Mexico's perspective, this was a full-blown invasion. They saw American soldiers setting up camp on what they considered their own soil. It was an incredibly provocative move. For months, the two armies faced each other across the river in a tense standoff. Then, on April 25, 1846, the inevitable happened. A Mexican cavalry unit crossed the Rio Grande and ambushed a U.S. Army patrol. 16 American soldiers were killed or wounded. This was the moment Polk had been waiting for. When news of the skirmish reached Washington, D.C., he went before Congress and delivered a powerful and somewhat misleading speech. He declared that Mexico had shed American blood upon American soil. It was a brilliant piece of political maneuvering. While some, like a young congressman named Abraham Lincoln, questioned whether the spot where blood was shed was truly American soil, the patriotic fervor was unstoppable. On May 13, 1846, Congress overwhelmingly voted to declare war on Mexico. The Mexican-American War had officially begun. The war was fought on three main fronts. The first was in northern Mexico, led by General Zachary Taylor. His forces were tough and experienced. They won a series of key battles at Palo Alto, Resaca de la Palma, and most famously, the Battle of Monterrey. Taylor's biggest test came at the Battle of Buena Vista in February 1847. He was dramatically outnumbered by the main Mexican army, led by General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna himself. It was a brutal two-day fight, but Taylor's well-positioned artillery and determined infantry held their ground, forcing a Mexican retreat. These victories made Zachary Taylor, or Old Rough and Ready as his troops called him, a national hero and would eventually propel him to the presidency. The second front was in the west, aimed at securing New Mexico and California. This campaign was led by General Stephen Kearny. His Army of the West marched overland from Kansas and captured Santa Fe, the capital of New Mexico, without firing a single shot. From there, Kearny pushed on to California. Meanwhile, a small group of American settlers in California, encouraged by U.S. Army Captain John C. Fremont, had already declared their own independence from Mexico in what became known as the Bear Flag Revolt. When Kearny's troops arrived, they joined forces with U.S. naval units under Commodore Robert Stockton to secure control of California after a few minor battles. By early 1847, the vast territories of the American Southwest were effectively under U.S. control, but Mexico still refused to surrender. So, President Polk decided on a daring, high-stakes gamble, a third front that would strike directly at the heart of Mexico. He appointed General Winfield Scott, known as Old Fuss and Feathers for his love of discipline and fancy uniforms, to lead an amphibious invasion. In March 1847, Scott's army of over 10,000 men landed near the fortified port city of Veracruz. It was the largest amphibious landing in U.S. history at the time. After a 3-week siege, Veracruz fell. With the port secured, Scott began one of the most brilliant and audacious campaigns in military history, a 260-mile march from Veracruz to Mexico City. The route was treacherous, passing through mountains and hostile territory. Scott's army was outnumbered and deep in enemy land, with its supply lines stretched thin. They faced stiff resistance from the Mexican army, again led by Santa Anna, at battles like Cerro Gordo and Contreras. The final battles for Mexico City were the fiercest of the war. U.S. forces had to storm the heavily defended Chapultepec Castle, which also served as Mexico's military academy. The young cadets there, some as young as 13, fought with incredible bravery. According to legend, the last 6 defenders, now remembered as the Niños Heroes or Boy Heroes, wrapped themselves in the Mexican flag and leapt from the castle walls rather than surrender. Though the story is likely embellished, it symbolizes the fierce Mexican resistance in the face of overwhelming odds. After the fall of Chapultepec, American forces entered Mexico City, and on September 14, 1847, the U.S. flag was raised over the National Palace. The fighting was essentially over. With its capital occupied, the Mexican government was finally forced to negotiate. The result was the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, signed on February 2, 1848. The terms were a massive victory for the United States. Mexico ceded a gigantic piece of land over 525,000 square miles in exchange for a payment of $15 million. This territory, known as the Mexican Cession, included the lands that would become the states of California, Nevada, and Utah, most of Arizona and New Mexico, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. The treaty also established the Rio Grande as the official border with Texas. In one fell swoop, the United States had increased its size by about a third, stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The dream of manifest destiny was now a reality. The consequences of the war were profound and long-lasting for both nations. For Mexico, it was a national trauma. The country lost about half of its territory and was left politically and economically devastated for decades. The war is still a painful memory, a symbol of foreign aggression and national humiliation. For the United States, the victory brought a surge of national pride, but it came at a dark price. The new territory acquired from Mexico reignited the explosive debate over slavery. Would these new lands be free or slave states? This question would shatter the fragile political compromises that had held the nation together. Abolitionists saw the war as an immoral land grab designed to expand slavery, while pro-slavery Southerners demanded the right to take their enslaved people into the new territories. The debate over the Compromise of 1850, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and the Bleeding Kansas violence were all direct consequences of the land gained in the Mexican-American War. Ultimately, the conflict over slavery in these new territories would prove unresolvable, pushing the North and South further apart and leading directly to the American Civil War just a little over a decade later. Ulysses S. Grant, who served as a young officer in the Mexican-American War, would later call it one of the most unjust wars ever waged, believing the Civil War was divine punishment for it. So, the Mexican-American War, a conflict born from the idea of manifest destiny, not only redrew the map of North America, but also set the stage for the United States' own bloodiest conflict. It was a short but incredibly consequential war that shaped the destiny of two nations and continues to echo in their relationship to this day. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into history interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you next time.